Let's talk to Ryan Sabey. Ryan, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike.
Good to see you. I've been up to Manchester more times than I've had hot dinners today. So welcome to this sort of Conservative Party special. What's it like up there? I'm hearing various different reports that it's a bit grim, it's a bit quiet, there's not much drink going. It's all a bit sort of after the end of the Peer show.
I think the trouble with this week for the Conservatives, there's not really much jeopardy for the leadership or those around her, and by that I mean the knives really aren't out for Kemi Badenoch this week. I think many people, the sort of senior politicians, those who are vying for that position in the long term, are just trying to bide their time. I think what they have done is they've learned their lessons from Andy Burnham over the last couple of weeks. Andy Burnham was going hell for leather to try and unsettle Sir Keir Starmer at the Labour Party conference. Now, it kind of worked for a little bit, but by the time he got well into that Labour Party conference, people had just got sick of Andy Burnham, and he didn't have the momentum, he didn't have the MPs behind him to try and really go for that full-on charge. So I think I'm speaking to people who would like to have that to be the Tory leader at some point in the future. They just want to get through this week unsettled. They want to make their announcements, get into the hall, make their speech, and get on the train back to London. And I think that's exactly what they're going to do. And they're going to let Kemi Badenoch have her moment in the sun tomorrow when she makes that leader's speech, and just let her have her time to shine for once, and try and put the Conservative Party in a good light to the rest of the country, because she has struggled in recent months to actually get her message across, her vision across to the British people. Maybe it's because they've turned off, but at least she may have one day to do it tomorrow.
Yes, I think there's no question that certainly an awful lot of former Tory voters have told us here at Talk they're never voting Tory again, and they're not really that interested with what they say, because of course they've been coming out with all sorts of policies, and Mel Stride yesterday saying he was going to save 47 billion off the exchequer by pulling welfare benefits and by stopping foreign aid. Kemi Badenoch talking about 150,000 people a year being deported, and it sort of all kind of just goes into nothing, because it doesn't sound as though they're ever going to have the chance to actually implement any of it.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we're looking at a general election probably 4 years away, and I think the public and even delegates here and MPs will say here, they were in power for 14 years. They could have done a hell of a lot of these things, and they just didn't. And there's big, bold, policy announcement in there. Cutting the foreign aid budget to 0.1% of GDP, which is a massive reduction of what it was, 10 years ago under David Cameron. Massive welfare cuts, looking at 23 billion, which is more than what Rishi Sunak wanted to do when he was in power. Civil service reform. So there's big, bold announcements. Kemi Badenoch, big announcements on net zero, but are the public engaged, or is it just the Conservative Party trying to play catch up with reform? And it really feels like that. We have Nigel Farage setting the running on net zero, Strasbourg rules, and pulling out of the European Convention of Human Rights to sort out the small boats crisis, and it just feels like Kemi Badenoch is playing that little bit of catch up. She's very methodical. She wants to go through every single process of making sure a top lawyer goes through it so she can make a proper judgment, but the public just want results, and they want policy sort of here and now, and she's just a little bit too slow, they feel.
That's the thing. I mean, reform have been quite quiet this week, really, since the back end of last week. They've sort of, I guess, given the Tories a chance to sort of hang themselves, if you like. But even doing that, Nigel Farage still manages to win a poll on Sunday, that JPL poll, I think it was, that said that he's now the person that people most think is likely to be the best Prime Minister.
Yeah, no, exactly. And there's a couple of things just on the poll. First of all, there's a poll out last night that showed that even Tory voters want some kind of pact with reform, whether that is not standing in seats, whether it's not actually fighting seats and pulling people away from actually making sure the Tories and reform have a good run into whichever seat they're fighting. So I think that for Farage is setting the running. Now, there has been big rumours swirling around this conference centre of a big defection this week. Lots of names being put up, lots of people denying it but behind the scenes. Now, I do notice that several councillors have switched from the Conservatives to Reform this morning, and Reform have put out several sort of press notices about that. I just wonder whether is that leading up to a bigger announcement today? Is it going to be a big announcement leading up to Kemi Badenoch's speech tomorrow? So let's just see where that goes.
Okay. And have you heard any specific names that you could share with us?
There is a few names. I'm going to spare their blushes because I don't really want to unsettle too many people in there. I mean, we're becoming people who are shadow ministers. People being a bit upset in the shadow cabinet with how things are going. So let's just see. But I think Reform have been obviously been in close contact with several Tories over recent weeks and months. I mean, it's probably just a matter of time before the next one goes.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's have a quick word about Keir Starmer. He's off to India later, I understand, but he's written a piece in the Times this morning about the marches and the demonstrations likely to take place today on the second anniversary of October the 7th. A lot of people showing their absolute disdain for that and detest for it here at Talk, calling in and sending us messages. He's got to do more, surely, and Shabana Mahmood indicated that she would do more than just sort of beg people not to do it. They're going to try and crack down on these marches, aren't they, by the sounds of things?
Yeah, no, exactly. There's going to be the police are going to be given more powers if these protests look like they're causing more nuisance than they actually should do. It seems to be, for every government, the right to protest is this fundamental right in this country. But when it oversteps the mark, and as Sir Keir Starmer says today, that these protests, on the second anniversary of October 7th, are seen as un-British, and they shouldn't take place. And that is pretty much a sort of united call across the party. So let's just see what happens in the rest of the day. But I think one of the quotes from Sir Keir Starmer saying that time doesn't diminish what happened, and people who are thinking about taking part in those protests today should actually just step back and think of those people who have been affected.
Yeah, absolutely right. Right, good to see you. Thanks very much indeed. Ryan Sabey, Deputy Political Editor up there in Manchester for the Sun Tory Party Conference.